first of all, the YEA is it was set up in 2006 by the John Adekunkufu administration. That time was called National Youth Employment Program, NYEP. And then, you know, it faced its own trials, tribulations, it went through its own phases. And then in 2015, under the John Dramani Mahama administration, and through Parliament, with its act, we had the YEA Act, the Youth Employment Agency Act. The mandate of the YEA is to position itself as the foremost employer of the young people in our country. And this is the first time we've had a stable period. Within the last, say, 6 years or so, 6 years, 7 years, they've had several chief executives. It started from Abuga Pele, and then after a year or two, then came Kobe Champon. Yeah. Then after a year came Vincent Kwagbonu. Then after Vincent, then came...
I'm sure it'll come to you.
Yes. Yeah. After Vincent, then came Beecham. So within the NDC's period, within 4 years, they had about 3 chief executives. And so when we came, we also wanted to go back to the drawing board and find out what went wrong and how we can have a stable period, especially having predominantly young people now manning the affairs of the agency. Okay. We have Justin Kodia Frimpong, a young Ghanaian lawyer. He's a chief executive. And then having 2 young deputy chief executives lead the ITMO for finance and then having Bashir Ibrahim, who is deputy CEO, another young person being deputy in charge of operation. And for the president of the land to also give to these young people and also place on them enormous responsibility to manage a very troublesome area or troubled sector. I am proud of the team there. So very young directors, line directors of the agency, and across their regional and district offices. And it's been an amazing journey with them. It's my hope and prayer that they end this year on a very good note, so that will be the first time in a long while in its history as an agency they can have 4 years of uninterrupted leadership. So they've come out with quite some exciting ideas. If you ask me, in fact, in the past, the YEA concentrated more on longer modules. And that is youth in garments and textiles, youth in IT. In fact, the RLG concept, the very human resource, was from the that time the Youth Employment Program, the National Youth Employment Program, where they train the youth in IT. When we took over, one thing that I realized together with the team, and an amazing board that we also have, we have quite some distinguished personalities. Dr. Kwame Amwakutu of the school feeding fame under President Kufuor. He serves on the board. You also have a management consultant and a forensic expert, Mr. James Kwashi, as well, also on the YEA board. Then you have the beautiful Drobohima, Nanaya Answa, strong woman, a private sector practitioner, and also a management consultant on the board. Then we have the Ghana's chief labor officer, Mr. Emmanuel Kolete, also on the board.
You heard that?
Yes,
it's a big privilege, eh?
I try. And then you also have the Deputy Minister for Employment, Lawyer Rekubrobe, as well on the board of the agency. And some other reps, that's the CEO of the National Youth Authority, also serves on the YEA board. And then you have Mr. Donko, also a local governance expert also. So, but by and large, they've also managed me through the process. They also give you confidence when you are also chairing it, and they believe that the young people can do it. So, to whom much is given, much is expected. Of course. When the president named me to go chair the YEA board, you know, it wasn't easy. I had quite some serious criticisms from some of the elders, and especially the former minister for the sector under President Mahama. But I'm happy that I also got the support from the young people, even though I had quite some sharp critics from some senior members of the NDC. There's some young people from the NDC side also felt that, look, we need to depart from the past, and if the young people can do it too, we support them. And So far, it's been good.
It's been good.
I wear two hats.
Okay.
One as the national organizer of the ruling NPP.
Yes.
When I enter the premises of the YEA, that hat is taken off completely.
Okay.
And then you wear the hat of a board chair of the agency. The youth, they can be constructive and destructive. And if you have NDC youth sitting at home and NPP youth working, it's just debit and credit.
Okay.
Just as you have NPP youth sitting at home and NDC youth working. We need to move towards a system and a situation where young people, regardless of their color, their political affiliation or creed, get the social standing, get the opportunity to work. In fact, you even have some former parliamentary aspirants of the NDC still working at the agency as directors as well.
I see.
And I insisted that, I mean, you don't judge someone by the fact that
you belong to another political party.
If the person, and I told them when the board was sworn in and we moved around, I told them that 8 to 5 you are working for the people of Ghana and for the government of Ghana. So 8 to 5, I care about what you do with your time. But beyond 5 p.m., you are free to go. If you want to stand on the umbrella, you can stand on it through Accra or through the streets of wherever. Or if you want to stand on the elephant and go on a jolly ride, you are free to do so. But 8 to 5, you are being paid with the taxpayers' money.
So you have to perform
so you have to perform those functions. And you have to justify why you should be paid the end of the month.
Makes a lot of sense.
So, Kwame, just to wind up on the YEA.
I don't want you to.
We had okay. No
I
problem.
wanted you to talk about your successes as well.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And your difficulties.
So we had a look at it. That we, you know, the modules of the YEA, 2 years to get you to be trained in a particular vocation or trade. After 2 years, they are supposed to exit, and a new group should come in. And I felt that was simply recycling unemployment, because if 2 years Kwame is working with the agency, let's say youth in community policing assistant, CPA, and then in 2 years' time Kwame comes home, then Awuku goes to work with the agency it's just debit and credit. So we decided to be innovative, create the YEA's Job Center, where we're currently linking employers to employees. And then the second thing that we did.
Yeah, you created a website for that.
Yes.
I think I recall
yes.
vividly.
And it's been amazing. Now you have quite a huge number of people, different talent. We're also liaising with the private sector. Now we do more of assisting these youth in the writing of their CVs or preparing their resumes and coaching them how to present themselves before interview panels. We chalked some tremendous success with other agencies and partnerships so far. And it's been good. The other thing that we've done is also now we are reviewing this 2 year thing. We want to go into shorter modules. With the shorter modules, what I mean is that if we can do something within 6 months, train the people, get some support for them, so we set them up, we will prefer that. We want to go into assisting entrepreneurs, create some entrepreneurs, build their capacity, and then make sure that they are in sustainable jobs.
Right.
Because this 2 year thing, it's time for us to have a review of it. It's not a system that is sustaining, and it's become more of a recycling of misery.
And it's been very political.
And it has been, unfortunately. And that's why we need to move away.
So do you have a national youth policy?
Yes, we do. We have a national youth policy that was prepared in 2010. And that one is within the mandate of the National Youth Authority. Okay. But I can speak to that a bit.
Please.
This was, I think, during the time of Sekou Nkrumah.
Yes.
But then, when we took over, mind you, when the National Youth Policy was drafted in 2010, the difficulty I had with the previous administration was that you prepare a youth policy in 2010, and then in 2015, that was when the implementation plan was submitted.
Yes.
Okay. So you have it, then that means within that gap of 5 years, there was inaction. There was no implementation plan. Because a youth policy should go with an implementation plan. And then the 2010 National Youth Policy, they used the 2000 population and housing census. They used the demographics and the figures to design the 2010 Youth Policy. And then when you had it in 2015, when they rolled out the implementation plan, they were still using figures of the 2000.
Oh, I see.
Because that implementation plan had to go with the 2010 youth policy.
Which didn't capture the correct...
but then we also had, within that time, we've also had a new population and housing census. I don't know if you get it.
No, I'm following.
In 2010, you had population and housing census.
Clearly, yeah.
But then as at the time the youth policy was prepared, they used figures of 2000 population and housing
So you
census.
could have used the 2010.
So you could have waited and used the 2010 one. And even with that, when you use the 2001, you should have updated it with the new demographics that came. And then there was inaction for 5 years, then you had an implementation plan. If someone was, say, 10 years in the year 2000, the person was 20 years in 2010.
Yeah.
And then the one who was 20 years in 2010 when you had the policy, and you captured him within a certain bracket. In 2015, the person was 25.
Yeah.
The situation and the demographics might have changed. But now they've done a comprehensive review of it.
Okay.
The various actors from the various political parties. Kudos to the previous NYA administration from Sekou Nkrumah's time down to Emmanuel Asigui and Brighter Champon and Rocky Obeng. Then they also passed the baton on to Sylvester Tete, another wonderful gentleman, and his two deputies, Nelson Owusu Ansa, and that of Akosia Minu. They've done quite a good job with that, and I understand that it's now awaiting cabinet approval.
I see.
So we can have a youth.
But does it come with implementation plan as well?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
Is it detailed? Because that has always been one of my problems. Sometimes, yes, we have great ideas.
I think we need to test it. We need to test it, but I think this one is quite detailed. But because it's awaiting cabinet approval, I'll wait, and I'll prefer that even going forward, you can have the leadership of the NYA to also come to speak to the document.
Yeah.
You know, in the 90s, and when I was youth leader, that was one thing that always engaged my attention. In the 90s, you had considerable level of agitation to promote the girl child.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
I remember.
Then you had the likes of Her Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo Ajman Rawlings.
Was at the forefront of it.
At the forefront. Madam Christine Churcher, the late Gladys Asma. You had quite some tough women, you know, leading the fray. Madam Faustina Nelson, Madam Sherry Aite. I mean, a cross-section of these tough ladies from across the political divide. And, you know, they felt that the girl child had to be educated. But what people forget is that now the girl child has been educated. When it comes to feminism, the late J.H. Mensah said it should not be an antagonistic crusade.
Yeah.
So we all supported the girl child to be educated. But when it comes to the youth, I mean, the approach of people to issues concerning the youth, for me, had always been saddening. But the girl child and the boy child, they all belong to the bigger group of the youth bracket.
Fantastic.
So if you educate the boy child, if you educate the girl child, and at the end of the day, the boy child cannot find sustainable job, the girl child cannot find that sustainable job.
Of what benefit?
Then of what benefit? And then that is when then you have some... I want to, because I'm on TV, I want to choose my words well.
Right.
You also have quite some...
Naysayers?
You know, mentally challenged men.
Okay.
Mentally challenged
Physically
men.
challenged.
No, not physically.
Mentally challenged.
Mentally challenged men who then will feel that because the opportunities there are limited in the job world, I need to take advantage of the lady before I can.
You mean
also...
mentally retarded men?
Yes. Because I'm a father of 3 daughters.
Yeah.
Anything that concerns the girl or the lady it directly affects me.
Very well. So, you spoke eloquently about how you wear 2 hats.
Yes.
One has to do with the chairing, you know, the
YA board,
and also the National Youth Organizer. You've expressed
the National Organizer.
Exactly.
I used to be youth.
National Organizer.
When I was a boy, I was youth organizer.
National Organizer.
Next opponent, which is the NDC, I'll give you very sharp political answers. If you come to engage me on issues of YA, I'll give you responses that, to me and in the best interest of the agency, will help the youth of our country. I'm not oblivious at all of both environments. And so I don't carry anything political to the YA office. But how do I run in between these 2 areas? and make sure that what is supposed to be done by the YEA, no matter how late it is, whoever I need to speak to, whoever I need to call, even if it's midnight, I'll go do business of the YEA for them. And if I have to also bend over, if I also have to stay and bend a midnight candle to make sure that I also respond to calls of NPP supporters or perform a task on behalf of the NPP as national organizer, regardless of the time and season, I also do that. And it's been challenging, of course, because sometimes you may be tempted to confuse the scenarios. But I think so far, I've been lucky. I've also learned from shortcomings, successes, and all that of previous colleagues.
Okay.
I've engaged my very good friend, is the NDC MP for Chereponi, who was the immediate past board chairman of the YEA.
Sam?
Yes, Sam. Another fantastic gentleman.
Yeah,
he doesn't talk much, but he's very deep when it comes to youth-related matters.
Yeah, he is.
So when I became YEA board chair, he was the first person I had lunch with.
I see.
And consistently, I've engaged him.
Jabaite.
Yeah, and he will tell you.
I see.
Because I want to know areas where they failed.
Okay.
And areas where he thinks they could have done better, but because of time, they couldn't perform. Then sometimes I also toss some ideas. I also pick his brains on some few things. Because he was board chair throughout the period. I think he saw the in and out of several CEOs.
Yeah.
And then he's also been very good.
Right.
And then you also have Nana Akumia as well, who was the sector minister for employment at some point in time. Also that of Alhaji Boniface Abubakar Sadiq. I also talked to Ras Mubarak as well, because he was on the board of the YEA with Sam at that time when he was the NYA boss. So if the job must be done, hunger knows no colors.
True.
When you are hungry, it doesn't matter whether your outfit is red, white, and blue, or red, white, and black and green. I mean, and for the youth, when they are hungry, they are hungry.
They're hungry, yeah.
So at any point in time and at every point in time, we should be guided by what we can do for the generality of our people. And I'm also always privileged and a delight to watch you. Kwame, I've known you not from today. And sometimes we pick our little quarrels, but as brothers, we always
find a way.
You and I always find a way of patching up. So, and you too, as a young man, also gifted with the opportunity, look, to manage such a big show as well. And then, so far it's been good. So you're also an icon for the youth.
Thank you, Sammy. I really greatly appreciate that. Now let's get into some politics. You have some statements that have been attributed to you. I will read a few of them out to you.
Everyday statements are attributed to me.
Yeah, right from when you were in opposition.
Yes,
you were talking tough. Now I think you're a little, I don't know, you're a little sober. You know,
when I was a boy.
Yeah, now you're a man.
Now I'm a young man.
Now you're a man. And people are seeing the future actually, but we'll get into that. Current voters register not credible. Stop intimidating EC. Samia Okujap's NDC. NDC's argument on new voters register fundamentally flawed. Samia Uku. The NDC is deliberately avoiding 2020 elections. Samia Uku. New voters register or not, Akufo-Addo will still win 2020 elections. Samia Uku. Rigging 2020 election for NPP is impossible. Samia Uku. These are some of the few statements that you've made. Now let's get into it.
Okay.
NDC is hell bent on ensuring that we do not compile a new voters register. I know from opposition that the NPP's position has been one that is finding expression even in now, that we must compile new voters register. What is the basis, really, for that rigid mental set posture of the NPP?
Okay, so I'm happy you've brought this matter.
Right.
First of all, the register we used in 2016, I want people to understand that register doesn't exist now as we speak.
Okay.
Why? Because in 2016 or after the 2016, I'll come to even pre-2016.
Please.
We had the Supreme Court election petition hearing in 2013.
Yeah.
One of the issues that was in contention was the register. So Philip Addison and his team, leading the petitioner's case, at a point in time requested for even the register that was used to register Ghanaians abroad that they subsequently used in voting. The EC told us of a case of 240,000. Okay. When pushed to the wall, they submitted a list of less than 1,000.
I see.
Yes, and this is documented. Subsequent to that, there was a case of the Abu Ramadan and Ivan Sidimaku case against the Electoral Commission, where they said the conditions used or what should be prevailed for you to be able to register and get your health insurance card should be different, and it's different from what the Constitution stipulates, that a Ghanaian of sound mind and 18 years and above should have the opportunity to get registered if the person wants to register to vote. That's the right to vote. Now, for the health insurance card, you can be a madman, but you should have access to health care. You should have a mental disease, but you should have access to health care. So that defeats the purpose in our constitutional provision that for you to vote, you need to be of sound mind and you need to be 18 years and above. For health insurance, you don't have to be 18 years and above. So that argument was raised. The justices of the Supreme Court, in their ruling, they did affirm and upheld the position of the plaintiff, Abu Ramadan and Ivan Sidimaku. The Electoral Commission was then ordered to clean the register of people who use a health insurance card to register. Okay. The EC, and in that case, the Attorney General said they only had 1 million people in the register at that time who used the NHIA card to register. Okay. 1 million.
1 million.
But the EC, when after the final ruling, the EC said they have detected that only 50,000 people or less use the health insurance card. This was in sharp contrast from the position of the Attorney General. Then we move from there. So the 50,000 that the EC claimed that these were the only people who use the health insurance card to register became an issue. After cleaning, they said 50,000, and they could confidently tell us that nobody in the register now used the health insurance card because they've cleaned it. Recently, when we had the district assembly elections, the respected economist Kesley Hayford said he used his health insurance card to register the last time. And that card, to register for the voters card, he still has his voters card, and he was able to vote in the district assembly's election. So meaning that
goes back.
So going back, so meaning that job wasn't properly done. Fast forward, then we had the Let My Vote Count agitations and demonstrations of which some of us were part. In the ensuing brouhaha, Madame Charlotte said, the electoral commissioner at that time, set up the Justice VCRAC Crab Committee. The Justice VCRAC Crab Committee, in their recommendation, said we had almost 585,000 people who are dead. 585,000 people who have passed on to glory, but their names are still in the register. There's almost 600,000. Yeah. Ghanaian elections are normally close, apart from the 2016 one that you had almost a million gap. The rest has been 305,000, it's been 40,000, it's been sometimes 100,000 and all that. So, Justice
that's very significant.
585,000 can alter the balance of power.
True.
So, let's ask the Electoral Commission how they cleaned this 585,000. They didn't. All they did was to ask employers and to appeal to them, and for people who do know that, if you know someone who is dead, inform the commission and they'll take the person out. That is not cleaning. And that exercise wasn't even done. Fast forward, in the same EC matter, now we are in 2016. After 2016, you had this Charlotte Osei, Amadou Sule, George Opoku Amankwa issues at the commission. Charlotte accused Amadou Sule of creating illegal polling stations. Polling stations should go with the voters register. Yeah. Because other than that, Kwame cannot come there and vote.
True.
So once the electoral commissioner said that was an illegal polling station, that means it was on the blind side of the other political parties. So who and who voted in these illegal polling stations? Again, she also accused Amadou Sule of illegal voter transfers. Up to date, you and I don't know which people had their staff transferred. Now, let me even then come back to our recent argument. NPP from 2012... No problem.
Between 2013 and 2016, before the 2016 elections, Johnson Asiedu Nketia was here on Monday, and he opined that there was a committee that was put together to deal with all of these nuances that you are referring to.
Yeah, but how were they claimed?
Indeed, we had Peter McMahon representing your party, we had him representing the NDC.
To do what?
We had to literally go through with a cleanup.
But how would wait? That's what I'm asking. That 585,000. This was a committee.
And this was after. Was this after the fact? This was after
this was somewhere in September.
Okay.
September, October.
Okay.
And as part of these recommendations,
of which year?
2016.
2016. Okay.
Yes.
So this was after the fact.
Yes.
This was after 2012.
Yes.
We had a committee put together and things like that.
Way after the fact.
Okay. So now we're on the same.
So when that committee, just VCRC crowd committee, said they should clear this 585,000 people who should be completely deleted from the list.
Yeah.
The EC cannot tell us up to date how that was done because they are still in there. But if you are relying on Kwame to come to you in his leisure hours and say, well, I know someone who has passed on, so Kwame, you and I know we won't do it. There should be deliberate effort to clean it. But then there's an argument, a counter argument that no matter the register you compile, you still have dead people in it.
Yeah.
But that is why you have to constantly clean them. And that is why you also have to make sure that when there's a need to compile a new credible one, you do it. Mind you, the NPP raised arguments of people voting in Togolese elections and voting in Ghanaian elections.
You did.
And we presented facts, we presented evidence, picture, voter ID, left, right, center. But coming back to even our recent argument, we have been consistent in opposition and in government of a new and a credible register. But that's the stance now. The voters register we used in 2016 has completely changed because we've had limited registration exercise in 2017. That recorded in excess of 1 million new people added to your register. You've had a new you've had a limited registration exercise compiled in 2018. You've had a new one compiled in 2019. All these ones have been added to the 2016 one. So if the new one, that's why I said that the NDC's argument for me is fundamentally flawed because now you don't have the 2016 register as a stance. You've had some additions. And these additions are enough to even alter the balance of power. These additions are so significant that they can remove a government and bring in a new government. So you don't have the one you had in 2016. And again, if the EC decides not to even have an entirely new register compiled, they must still compile a new one because of the limited registration exercise, which is constitutional. Because every year people turn 18.
But would it completely change the voters register that we have if we're going to have the
it will, because you are talking about then by the time you're done, you're talking about almost 4 million added to it.
Yes. So it would change.
But then what would be the argument to have a limited registration exercise, but not an entirely new voters register? Because you are talking to me about COVID-19. You're talking to me about social distance. But when the same process you will use for a limited voter registration exercise, that's the same queue that will be formed.
But the numbers will be different.
But that will be the same queue.
But the numbers will be different.
Well, you and I cannot tell.
How many voters do we have currently on
I think in excess of 17 million.
17 million. But if we're doing the limited registration, we're going to have, like you said, maybe 4 million, right? So if you're looking at the numbers,
like if you can add about 1 million to 2, it's possible.
It's possible. Okay. So we're going to have.
So let me ask a very interesting question.
Please.
You're assuming that the numbers will be small. Let's say in the Pan-Africa TV area, you have a registration center and you have 50 people in the queue. All you're asking them to do is to space out. Some should wait so that when the queue goes down. That's the same process you're going to use when you are forming a queue for a new register. And then if there wouldn't be any argument for people to form queue for us to have a new register, then that means whether limited or entirely
on the basis of that, we should be allowed.
Yes. Then what would be the argument to have elections in December? People are going to form queues. Or you think that one is a 1 day? So there won't be spike in terms of numbers. This one, the person will form the queue for 1 day. So that's why I'm struggling to understand the argument. But I respect the NDC for one thing. They believe that we don't need an entirely new register compiled. We have been consistent from day one, from opposition, that the voters register that we're using is beginning to seem like an ECOWAS register.
That's my headline.
Where you have people of different descent, different nationality, all taking part in the decision-making process of our country.
Right.
We are asking that, look, when we have this process rolled out for a new voters register in its entirety, my job will be difficult as national organizer. Yeah. And that same will be of Akamba.
Which means you have to
because we are not even that.
That's literally, I'm just, yeah.
Not even that. What I'm saying is that I don't see why the NDC should have the feeling that compiling a new voters register is a verdict that they won't win any future election in Ghana. Because this one, we are all compiling from scratch. Yeah, but I don't have any.
Perhaps it's also based on some of the utterances of some of the leading members in your party. For instance, like, Chairman Samples,
what did he say?
Indicated clearly that if we were to compile a new voters register, the NDC will never come to power again. So it is on the basis of some of these things, perhaps. That is why
maybe it's also because the NDC's utterances elicited that response.
That response, okay.
That they are making people feel that there's something in that register. Okay. Because for me as national organizer, myself and the rest of my colleagues as national officers and our field officers, we have to go out, reach out to people, get strategies on how people can get out to register. Because this register is going to be compiled from 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not a top-up from the previous register.
But let's look at the modalities of the registration. I mean, the EC has sent a CI to Parliament.
Yes.
And that CI captures what the requirement, if you will, of registering people. They said that they're going to only limit what you need to be able to register to passport and to the national identification card, or the national identification card. And it's on the basis of this that people have also raised some red flags, because they're saying that if you look at the population, just about 2 million people have passports, but everybody has a birth certificate. And very, very few have also received their NIA cards. So on what basis are we arriving at the conclusion that the registration exercise must be predicated on just these two tools?
You see, we are where we are today because our brothers failed to come to the table to have a proper discussion.
Explain why.
As a team, and I will explain why.
Please.
The EC called for an IPAC meeting in March. The EC, within the last 1 year and a half, they've been hinting and talking about the prospect of an entirely new voters register to be compiled. It's been over a year. Subsequent to that, there were agitations, so they formed the Eminent Advisory Body. Even the NDC at a point in time weren't too happy with the advisory body. Be as it may, we moved on. When the EC called for the IPAC meeting, they had already tabled a CI in Parliament. And then the political parties present, the NDC walked out. In fact, they boycotted that meeting. But the other political parties were then told by the EC that the discussions we've had in the past, we've given full expression to it. We've moved to Parliament, the second phase of it.
Wait, let me, because there's a confusion.
Yes,
so I just want clarity.
No problem.
Because I see it, and he explained why they boycotted that IPAC meeting. He said that when they went to IPAC meeting, they were ambushed with the fact that that CI had already been laid in Parliament before coming for the IPAC meeting. So on what basis were they coming to now discuss?
So I'm coming there.
Okay, please. So I just need for us to,
not just the NDC's argument. All of us raised that argument. The EC said because they had hinted all of us in the past, they thought that we had agreed in principle. And they also felt and thought for all of us that once they had spoken about these matters at previous IPAC meetings, that's why they are before Parliament. We then told them, the political parties present, the NDC boycotted it, which for me was wrong. That's why I'm saying we are where we are today because of the NDC's behavior in the past. We told them that first, the CI that was before Parliament had 5 people to guarantee for you. In fact, no, sorry. If you hold a passport, you can guarantee for 5 people. And if you hold an NIA card, you can guarantee for 5 people.
Okay.
The political parties present, minus the NDC, said that 5 people per person is too small. Looking at the fact that the passport, it's not everybody who has a passport, and not everyone who has the NIA card. So at least one person should be able to guarantee for 10 people. We made these recommendations, and the EC moved to Parliament to withdraw that CI. So the very CI that the NDC is complaining about was withdrawn. When they called for that meeting, we said, you should have informed us that you had already moved to Parliament. Then how are you now coming to tell us about what you've already submitted to Parliament? Based on our suggestions, the EC withdrew that CI from Parliament.
I see.
Made amendment to it and retabled it in Parliament.
Which amendment was it?
One of it.
Different.
No.
Yeah,
for instance, the passport. So we said that at least if you're a passport holder, you can guarantee for 10 people.
Okay.
The NDC's last press conference, led by Elvis, said we only have 2 million people using passports in Ghana. Let me even grant them that figure, and let's assume that figure is correct and wholly true. If one person can guarantee for 10 people, and you have 2 million of these people who being holders of our passport, if one can guarantee for 10 times 2 million, that gives you 20 million people. And this that far exceeds even your expectations.
Because currently we have about 80 million. So
yes, your projection.
2 million.
Yes. And then let's also assume and take it for a fact that 7 million people per the NDC's press conference, they have the National Identification Authority card. Let's assume. So if that's 7 million people, each of them can guarantee for 10. You know the figure we're talking about now? Way in excess. Way in excess. You're talking about 70 million then.
Okay.
So it clearly, you need to have a situation. If NDC had come up with some of the suggestions they are coming up today, if maybe they had not boycotted that IPAC meeting, we all could have had that beautiful discussion. Say, no, this one, our brothers are right. But now, with the solution they are proposing, they're asking that CI should be withdrawn, new amendments made, retabled in Parliament. By the time that CI matures, you'll be in August.
So you can't
pay the NDC's proposal. So in August, then when will the EC compile a new register?
Like a tortoise
when the EC should say that, okay, we'll start compiling from August, that will take you to September, mid-September. When would they do the duplication? When would they do the exhibition of the register? And per the laws, our electoral laws, they need to give you the register between 60 to 90 days. And that is when also you need to also ensure you filed the candidature of both your presidential aspirant and that of your parliamentary.
Okay.
So from what the NDC is proposing, we are looking at elections somewhere in the first quarter of next year. And that was how come I said the NDC is avoiding election 2020.
And we may even have constitutional crisis. I mean, if
you will. And the NPP, we don't want to overstay our mandate by an hour.
Yeah, you've said that.
Yes,
I think we've been consistent with that.
Yes, we don't want to.
Let's fundamentally.
So let's go to the polls. If the Ghanaian people say, look, you guys, you've done well, you promised free SHS, 1 district, 1 factory, this, that, but we still think you should take a back seat, we will go. If they say that, look, looking at your sterling performance and the way you've handled matters in the past and present, we want you to continue, then we continue. Okay. We don't want to overstay our welcome.
Okay, but I mean, let's fundamentally also look at some of the issues that have been raised by the NDC. That if you look at, for instance, the National Identification Registration, they are saying that their strongholds, have been left behind because if you look at the numbers that they recorded in their strongholds, it does not match the number of people who are really in that community, and therefore, if we are supposed to use that to register,
so let me.
That's one leg. The other leg is also that so that you can respond to both.
No problem.
Respectfully. So the other leg is also that you're talking about the fact that one person can guarantee for 10 people if the person possesses a passport, right?
Or NIA card.
But how are you going to be able to guarantee that will not also bloat or overbloat or even bring people from other countries, into the register? Because if I have a passport and I can vouch for 10 people, I can go and bring my close allies and friends from Nigeria, for instance.
And that is why we have a system where you can challenge. If you believe that a person who has appeared before you cannot be considered to be part of our electoral register, all political parties are allowed to challenge. All political
at
parties.
the point of registration.
At the point of registration.
Okay.
You fill a challenge form, and then you go to the next step, where you need to present your case before a lower court.
Why don't we avoid all of these?
But it's part. It's been part since '92.
Okay, granted. But I'm saying that
the first part.
The first part was that the NIA. So maybe you can respond to that. Okay,
great.
And things, yeah.
I find this argument very sad, and once again, is the doing of the NDC, and I'll explain.
Please.
When they started this Ghana card, the largest opposition party had a press conference asking their supporters not to participate in the registration of the Ghana card. Their foot soldiers and supporters were told not to participate in the process to acquire a Ghana card.
Okay.
Subsequent to that, the former president and the leader of the party acquired this Ghana card. Yes.
Former President Mahama.
Yes, Mr. Mahama. The founder of the NDC, Mr. Rawlings, acquired his Ghana card. NDC members of parliament acquired their Ghana cards. In fact, in parliament, they had a station there for them to. So it was a case of 2 legs good, 4 legs bad, or 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. When it came to the downtrodden people, forgetting that your pillars of support are the very full soldiers, the masses. And that's what has driven the NDC in their political journey. Because you won't know when this one will be used or that will be used. None of us could tell. But the very moment you told your people not to participate in the process, and now you are asking the EC that in your strongholds, people did not read. They didn't even participate because you told them not to participate. So that was a wrong signal you gave to your people.
NDC is being hypocritical.
It's a clear case of hypocrisy. Because how do you expect your people to register for the Ghana card when you have in a press conference told them not to register? They've stabbed Mr. Mahama in the back. They have, because if the party leadership could tell the supporters not to, then the former president, full glare in public and with cameras on, acquired his Ghana card as a statesman. The founder of the party acquired his. And you, a political party, you play the ostrich and ask your foot soldiers in times of crisis and when it matters most. Mr. Seydou Nketiah's vote is one. That of your Bembela boy or your Zabzugu boy, that of your foot soldier in Klote Kole Odododiodo, his vote too is one. But you deprived your supporters the opportunity to acquire a national ID that is not just for voting, it can be used for transactions as a means of ID. How unfair can we be to our people? You may not be happy with the process, but you don't exclude yourself. When we had this national health insurance card, in fact, the passage of that national health insurance bill, the NDC walked out. Then at the point in time, they said, we are collapsing the health insurance. But you didn't even believe in it in the first place. And I still feel sad for the NDC foot soldiers, because I think that their leadership are not being fair to them. Maybe they've taken them for a ride. And Mr. Mahama on any day should blame his party leadership. Because that press conference, for me, watching from behind, and as a politician, and with an eye for the crystal ball, I felt that they missed the target, they missed the point.
I see. Well, so we're still in conversation with Samir.
I may be wrong, but this is my opinion.
Okay. We're still in conversation with Samir Awuku here on the morning show, and we have been talking a lot about the Youth Employment Agency. We've also been talking quite eloquently about the elections 2020 and the position of the NPP, which is at complete variance with the position of the NDC relative to the EC's conduct and things like that. Sammy, we're just about wrapping up, but before we do, let us look at your chances in the upcoming elections. Are you going to win the 2020 elections, and on what basis would you arrive at a positive? Because I know that's a positive answer you're going to give me. On what basis would you arrive at that?
We're going into this election not as a top-up of the previous election.
Okay.
NPP is approaching these elections with all seriousness. And in fact, we're fighting this election as if we are in opposition and our brothers are in government. We are not going to be complacent. But of course, the dynamics have changed. The T-shirt we even wore in 2016, we cannot wear it in 2020.
True.
In 2016, we were branded change. But in 2020, we cannot wear change.
4 more to do more.
4 more to do more for you. That is how we're going to go. And the campaigning this year will be tough and different from previous ones.
Why so?
This time around, this is the real time for politicians and strategists to test the NPP strategy we used in 2016 that we call the retail campaign. The retail campaign is the door-to-door campaign.
What's that?
Is the door-to-door campaign where you need to reach out to Kwame Owusu, wherever he is, knock at his door, explain your party's policies and programs.
But you've always been doing that. How is it different from what you did in 2012?
But that's what,
2012.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is the time to test it more. Because mind you, in 2016, we used a combination of this retail campaign and the mass rallies.
Yeah.
But this time around, nobody's going to come around when you say, Charlie, let's meet at Agboba. Let's meet at Manchagbona. Let's meet at Jackson Park. People, this pandemic, this coronavirus has changed our perception forever. And it has also changed our way of living. Now, brothers can no longer hug. Sisters can no longer hug. So it should tell you that there's some inherent fear. So this campaigning is more going to be driven through the media, through social media, and through that door-to-door. And anybody who tells you that door-to-door retail campaign is easy, it's a lie. It's tough.
Okay, so you're winning 2020 elections.
I am confident that Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the NPP will retain the seat on the strength of our record. We'll go to the Ghanaian people, not in an arrogant mode, but to also give a good account in the stewardship, and account for our stewardship, and also plead with the Ghanaian people in a very modest way to give us another chance to do more for them.
Okay, there are some questions for you.
Okay.
I just respectfully will read them out and then you'll respond to them.
Yes, sir.
This one says that, okay, so Citizen Francis says, I'm proud of my national organizer, Awuku. He's doing a phenomenal job for the Elephant family and Mother Ghana. On the issue of the voters register, no political party can stop the EC from embarking on its constitutionally mandated duty. We are going to have a new one, more improved and robust biometric voters register for election 2020 and beyond. So that's what he said. He sent in. Okay, this one also says, George Ampasa says, couple one. Victor Abbey wants to, wants for you to respond to this. Do you remember the head of birth and death registrar was replaced in voter region and application for issuing new birth certificates was stopped?
I don't remember.
You don't remember that? Okay.
But when was that? Because at some point in time, when the NPP came, he was the head, and he stayed there for quite a number of years. So, in fact, you know, the MDC's parliamentary aspirant for Bole in 2012, when we came in, he still remains the head of the National Ambulance Service.
I see.
Professor Zakaria.
Fantastic. So this one says,
gentleman. So you see, we don't just move people or change people because of their political colors.
Competence.
Must
be brought to
and he's a sharp guy.
Right.
He's the one who coordinated the national ambulance effort.
I see.
Yes, the 300 plus ambulances.
I mean, you have a track record. You let me say you employed Indum back in the day. Abdul Karim Abdul Gafaru says, good morning. Why is it that the NPP doesn't want to use the old register? What is wrong with the old register?
But I've told you that even now we don't have the old register.
Why can't we even use the old voters ID card to aid in the registration? Why?
Because that voters ID card you are seeking, that is replaced. In the last one in 2012,
yes,
we were not even allowed to use the old one. And you know, we've compared 3 registers as a country. In fact, an entirely new one. We had the first one in 92 under the NDC. We had the second one in 2004 under the NPP. We had the third one in 2012 under the NDC.
Okay.
So we've had 3. Out of the 3, we've won and lost elections with it.
Yeah.
The NDC, they've won and lost with it. In fact, the register that they prepared themselves in 2012, they lost elections with it in 2016. But that doesn't make that register credible.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that register, there's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
If you're asking the EC to clean, that's a fantastic argument. So they will tell you that the machines itself, the manufacturers of it are telling you that they've reached end of life, end of purpose. If that argument from the manufacturers is anything to go by, you even get the spare parts of it when it breaks down.
Okay.
So that's why you acquired new ones. When you acquired new ones, you need to migrate the data from the old machines onto the new one. And IT experts will tell you that when there's that migration, there'll be loss of data at some point. Okay. I don't know whether it's your name that will be lost in the process or my name. I don't want to get to the polling booth On the day of election, December 7th, after all my toil and sufferings and campaign for my presidential candidate, Nana Akufo-Addo, and my parliamentary candidate, and then only to be disappointed there that, sorry, sir, during the migration, your name got deleted.
Okay. Somebody wants for me to ask you this question. It says that, please draw some attention to the fact that the question of the 2 million passports also include minors, and minors don't vote.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a fantastic argument. So if you are saying, but the NDC in their press conference, they don't even talk about minors. I'm going by their argument. Okay. I didn't put out that figure. They said only 2 million Ghanaians have passport.
Yeah. Okay.
And I said, okay, assuming these 2 million Ghanaians are even eligible to vote or they are voters, then it presupposes that they can guarantee for 10 people per person.
Okay.
If you do the calculation and you tell me that, okay, out of the 2 million, 1 million are 18 years and above, that means they can also guarantee for 10 million people.
So you have
loads of
messages coming in.
But I have an admonition and a word of caution for the teaming NPP supporters.
Okay, please.
I don't trust the NDC when they keep saying that they are not interested in the new voters register.
Okay.
We shouldn't. You see, when you are whining or dining with the devil, you use a long spoon.
So you see, from across.
In all these circumstances, before you realize, they are also quietly planning secretly for the new voters register. And that is why, for us as NPP, we haven't taken any step for granted. We want our supporters, when registration opens, in whichever time it does, please call your brother to call a sister to get out to register.
Okay.
The only way as a people we can continue to enjoy our free SHS, our one district, one factory, our one village, one dam, our one district, one warehouse, our planting for food and jobs, is only when you have a government that cares in power. Please, our people, don't think that the NDC shouting and saying that they are not interested, they are not interested. That's what I'm saying. That when they had the press conference to say nobody should go register for Ghana card, the leader of the party took his card. The founder of the party took his card. Their members of parliament took their cards. So we are not taking the NDC stories of they are not interested, they are not interested. Just yesterday, the NDC, they requested for documents and all that from the Electoral Commission on the upcoming voters registration. Just recently in Ablekuma West, about a week or so ago, their parliamentary candidate, one Reverend something, he trained his coordinators on voter strategy. I have the pictures. But yes, our eyes are everywhere. So, we won't deliberately get it wrong. We know we won't always get it right.
Right. This one says I'm a strong NDC guy, but I admire Sammy a lot. But I promise him that we are going to win this year's election.
At least I owe him a champagne on December 9th.
Fantastic.
I will give, when we win, I know he will join me. So that's what I'm saying. I owe him.
Okay.
And let me say very good morning to your communicators and your callers. Quite a number of them are my very good friends.
Right.
These are people who have also been with the NDC all this while. And when God gives the NDC an opportunity someday to come into power, someday, they should also help and take care of their foot soldiers as well.
Fantastic.
Because when they are in opposition, those who suffer most are the foot soldiers. And the NPP has offered very useful lessons on how we've catered for our foot soldiers.
There's a message for you about you. The guy said, "I'll vote for you in the future when you stand for presidency." These are just issues that we.
The good news is that I'm now national organizer.
Yes, so
and I don't have any dream yet.
Yes.
I don't have that tough skin yet.
Yes.
So maybe when I get that tough skin, I'll call this your caller.
Yes.
Text her.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute privilege having you in the studios.
Let me say good morning to Uncle Kwesi Pratt as well.
Fantastic. He likes you a lot, by the way.
He says I'm a stubborn chap. But we manage. And you know, his sons were my roommates.
Right.
Komowoto.
I see.
Penny and Kaka.
Oh,
we're troublesome friends.
You'll be Vanda.
Oh, not just I'm an unapologetic vandal.
Then we don't agree because we try to defend.
Unfortunately, because of the cameras, we can't chat. We can't sing our songs. But sometimes in my element, when I'm there alone, I can sing 1 hour non-stop.
I see.
I tell you.
But
that's a charismatic vandal squad.
Yeah, I admire your legwork, to be honest.
We try.
Yeah, you tried. So I think in 2016 you told me.
Yeah, I told you.
Really?
I told you that Kwame will win this election.
Yeah, I know. I
know. Sammy Kwame. You know, there's this story of Fred Agbanyo and I.
Yeah.
And Fred was the day December 7th. You called 11 a.m. So my brother, where are you? That time Fred was deputy communications director for the NDC.
Yeah.
I said, oh, I just finished vote. Oh, you know they listen. You know they listen. Go and sleep. Go bed. You know, I told you that this was election. No. We finish. Oh, we finish. JM win the thing. I know you be sad, but JM win the thing. You go prepare for 2020. Why I say, Fred, why? Then vote count the results finish for Hoho. He said, me, they tell you. You know, Fred was also a good Fred and Otukono. I was also with them in Commonwealth. All Vandals and Atik.
Yeah, Atik, okay.
Atik Mohammed of the PNC.
Yes, yeah.
Then, a Blackwa and all that.
Yeah.
They were all in the Vandal seat. So, December 9th, I called Fred. I said, Fred, we had the elections and he said, oh, bro, my head be paining me. I will call you back. But that's the beauty of the voters. No.
Especially when you charge you. You demonstrated your some vandal skills.
I don't know who leaked that video. That's what I'm saying now. Because of my contempt cases, I've managed.
But thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kwame. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Well, so we have been speaking to Awuku, who is a national organizer of the NPP, undoubtedly the man who knows his job very, very well. He's called Kapu as well. It's been an absolute privilege having him here, and we've learned a thing or two about the YEA and also about his position in the party, and also why the NPP is, if you will, supporting the EC, you know, in its preparedness to compile a new voters register. My name is Kwame Sudan, so I'm going for this quick commercial break. On my return, we'll have the news review segment. Stay with us. I shall return shortly. Thank you.